ready for takeoff.
Hi, folks. Thanks for coming to Solidarity Not Charity and Collective Liberation. It's a lot of jargon words. We're going to talk about what they mean. This may include, I'm pretty sure will include, some hot takes. And I am involved and affiliated with many different organizations and people, and hereby absolve them of anything I say. Okay. The thing I wanted to do to set the stage about these topics and this space is to get in the habit of complexifying our thinking. That means, just for a moment, if everybody could think about any kind of paradoxes, contradictions, juxtapositions that you can think of immediately. Things where two or more potentially opposing ideas are simultaneously true. Everybody been able to think of at least one? Okay, this is going to require some engagement. This next part, not require, suggest, request. If you'd be willing to listen to a nearby neighbor who you are now nearer by, tell you their name and one of those, and then share the same. That's what we're going to do for 3 minutes. Cool? Everybody ready? Thanks for hanging with each other. Okay, so congratulations to all of you. By having embraced and thought about contradictions that you can think of and ideally relate to, your body, your heart, your brain are now better attuned to getting involved with your communities. If what you do is start at a very black and white binary position of whatever it is that you want to do anything about, it's gonna be tough for you to do that. Also, just a call out to somatics, which is body-based learning and knowing and engagement. There's a lot going on with engaging our own inner body wisdom into how we do things and how we think. So congrats to everybody. Because the reality, generally, is not simple. Everything that one person may benefit from often is not going to benefit someone else. So a lot of really well-intentioned communities and discussions end up having a lot of semantic challenge around, well, this disproves that, and the straw man arguments. So the more that you are willing to be wrong, the more that you are willing to listen instead of tell, the closer you're going to be to being able to be of help and of service. Is anybody here, and I'm pretty sure most of you would be my guess, already involved in your community? If you are, if you'd be willing to stand up, that'd be awesome. Cool. Okay, now, anybody who is willing to talk to some other people at this conference about the work you're doing, please stay standing. So sit down if you'd rather not have randos coming and talking to you. Awesome. Okay, wave. Yay, here's some more buddies. So that's one of the main things of, oh yeah, you can sit down, thanks. One of the main things is making buddies, being able to know what are you doing and how can I get involved. If you're here because you're not yet involved, definitely connect with these people. We're also gonna add a channel to Slack and have a lot more discussion after this 30 minutes to be able to help give you ideas and encourage you in becoming involved in whatever you'd like to. And ideally, all of you that stood up at all, if you'd be willing to join that channel and also share if your organization or efforts could use help. If you have suggestions or want to share something with people here, we might have time to have a couple people speak at the end, but if not, and regardless, please be involved in that Slack, and we'll make some other opportunities available as well. Is everybody in the conf Slack? Cool. Okay, here's the basic TLDR of community involvement. Start by finding people or organizations that you care about what it is that they are already doing. Number one memo, don't just come in, I know how to fix XYZ problem. There's a long history of a lot of us, including me, doing that. It's generally not super effective. Ask them how your skills might be of use. Maybe it's coding, maybe it's serving some food. If you're willing to do what is needed and become a part of what is happening, you'll likely be able to then have a better idea of what you could engage with later, if it's involving code. Make sure to listen to their answers. You can suggest options, but follow their lead. Amplify their work, and create opportunities for others to join the effort. Bonus points if you start by identifying things that are led by people who are historically marginalized or oppressed people. They could definitely use your support. They and we and you. Oh, any other questions about this? Anything anybody has to add to this little recipe? Okay, because one of the things is I can tell you this. I have all kinds of things to say in life, but the idea is to not think you know everything. So even if I think I know a lot of stuff, always humbling myself to be able to ask and invite. That's another key memo. Okay, so this seems maybe not relevant to the jargon-packed title of this talk, Solidarity, Not Charity, and Collective Liberation, but they're definitely tied. So collective liberation is a phrase that doesn't have a great definition anywhere. We are leaning into our complexification, and that is okay. So one of the goals is to be interdependent, to not encourage every person or every community to be completely independent. Another piece of it is to focus on how to have all humans thrive. So much of what happens in the world is benefiting only specific segments. So definitely want to work toward things that benefit many. And the premises of collective liberation, all of our struggles are inextricably linked. Within systems of oppression, everyone suffers. Obviously, some more than others in some ways, but it impacts everybody negatively. So when you are thinking about becoming involved in communities and helping them, if what you do is only think that they are the ones that are suffering and you are not part of that, you're gonna come at it at a very different angle than if you come at it from, we are all a community and this is a problem for all of us. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but lots more definitions of collective liberation out there in the world. I read this awesome People and Planet's Collective Liberation Guide, strongly recommend it. I'm gonna include several references in the Slack channel after this talk, but there's a lot of really great work and thinking that's been shared. Solidarity, not charity. The idea is if you are only thinking that you're going to be charitable. It's a way to separate and potentially have an experience of superiority that you want to avoid. Like, my mom used to always say, "There, but for the grace of God, go I." Like, any of us could be in any of these situations. Certainly there are probabilistic things around who ends up in what situation and why. And so another piece of solidarity, not charity, is working to change the systems that create inequity and looking more at the systems as the target of the problem as opposed to the people or their individual inadequacies that led them there, or their lack of a work ethic, or all kinds of other things people think. This is one of my favorite things to say. You need to be ready to accept help. If you need no help in life, it's not ideal to go out trying to help others. Like, be in touch with where you could use support. All of us could use all kinds of support. And it's too often that we close ourselves off to whatever it is that we're trying to uplift by thinking that we are somehow immune. So definitely want to suggest that. Also, something I meant to say before, so I am a white woman, white, cis, mostly woman, and I am speaking from my experience. This is, please take what is said here as from that perspective, and I would love to hear from other people of other identities and how you disagree and what we can do to get more information out to more people about how to become involved. So be my buddy. Here's some of that. Why do I care? My experience and belief is that we all perpetuate all of the oppression, including to our own identities. We can work to mitigate it, we can work to see it, but it takes a lot of work and a lifetime of commitment. And people have created a lot of space for me, and I want to make sure to be doing that for others. Oppression is redistribution in a zero-sum game. That is true. Every amount of success ends up on the backs, is extracted from the backs of others, generally. We're going with complexity, so that's true and not true. But I'd really like for us to build a pie factory. We do not need to have it be zero-sum, but we need to understand that when someone else is oppressed or challenged or disenfranchised, there's another group that has benefit. So figuring out how to redistribute some of that is cool, but definitely let's make a lot more to go around. Some of how I came to think a lot of these things are my dad, bless his heart, is a pretty radical person who really wants to support his community. He feels really strongly about that, as well as many things. And as this says, he is not here to listen and learn, or he is there to listen and learn, not debate. But that has not entirely been my experience of him. Meanwhile, I am a bit different and want the rainbows of the world and people to come together. During the pandemic, when it started, I became involved with and heard of different mutual aid efforts around the country, and I had people I knew or people maybe one removed who were working in that space. And I started with several other programmers to build software for mutual aid because they were using a lot of spreadsheets and including people's PII in a way that I was not able to sleep as well at night. And then my dad was having some heart problems. So I went to live at his biker bar, And I was doing that work as well as racial justice education for white people from this biker bar in upstate New York. And in the days, I would talk with the patrons, and in the evenings, I would talk with some other people. And what I found is that most people want to be of help. These people do believe that they are preserving something, helping people, like it's out of love. And my assessment is that they are much more focused on their people, and just my circle of who is my people is all of the people, and that is not theirs. And I share that because it's relevant to try to find that good, even if things like my dad say that this slide includes are not necessarily positive. It helps to engage. I do think that for the future of humanity on this planet, we need to figure out how to come together more. People who have privilege and that's less dangerous for, those are the people we should send in first. So I sat there and talked to people about their ammo they just bought and what they were thinking during the pandemic. And they were very touched that I was willing to listen to them and to extend respect to them. This is not for everyone. Not everybody could do that for all kinds of reasons. I'm not saying everybody should. It's just something that I did and how I ended up here. So I encourage you all to think about who is in your circle. It doesn't have to be every single person. The bigger the circle is, the more likely that we'll be able to help more people and get closer to collective liberation. But all of culture change takes all of the approaches. There really is no one right way. And that's part of why it's confusing and hard to figure out how to get involved. So I've got a list here of a number of the people and organizations that have inspired me. I strongly recommend that folks here at RubyConf consider becoming involved in Ruby for Good. It's a nonprofit where there are conferences each, at least one a year. It's not a hackathon, but a weekend retreat. There's a lot of sensitivity around the word hackathon, which I support. But essentially, we build software for free for nonprofits and maintain it throughout the year. You don't have to go to a Ruby for Good conference to be involved in any of those projects. There are repos on GitHub, and there are lots of issues, and you could pick up one at any time. You could become a core team member of any of those. Most of the crews in the Ruby for Good community meet regularly on Zoom. Or you could just do a drive-by PR. You don't need to commit much to do any good. Also, they're really good about engaging with existing organizations. So one of the flagship projects is about diaper banks. So hundreds of diaper banks are now using software built and maintained by Ruby for Good coders. Pretty awesome. Anyway, lots more like that. Tons of open source things available. If you make a buddy, that's why we started there, who is doing something, they likely have a way for you to get involved too. I found that's easiest for me rather than just like cold calling somebody, especially because those organizations might not be ready to accept your help or your ideas. So trying to figure out who might already be involved and how are they involved can often be an easier in to doing so yourself. Definitely want to shout out to all of the people, past, present, and future, who have been part of working toward the good for all. I'm grateful that all of you are here, and congratulate and shout out each of you for showing up. Please, though, as you become more and more involved, think about how to do so in a way that is regenerative for you and sustainable. A lot of people get involved and then really burn out. I definitely have burned out multiple times. I have tons of projects that I have handed the baton over. And be yourself. If that is your way, like me, go in deep and then burn out and then circle back later, do that. If your way is steady and small, or one time a year, you can get involved in the Hacktober. We'll have tons of engagement around how to find coding-specific projects, and keep in touch. So let's definitely get this Slack going, and then we've got other Slacks and ways to connect people year-round. Would love to be engaged with you and to help others, people that we know, also get involved too. It's my very favorite thing in the world to be working together for the good. I do a bit of it alone, but my preference is to be talking to people about code and about good and mixing those together. Something else I wanted to share about some of the organizations here, RailsBridge is an organization that teaches programming for free to women, people of color, and others underrepresented in tech. Like, you could be a mentor for Code the Dream, which I had meant to include here. All kinds of options. The options are endless. I know some of that gives some paralysis, but please think about what type of engagement would you like to have that you can sustain, that will be inspiring to you and rewarding to you. And please think about where and how others can help you. Where do you have weakness or insecurity or vulnerability, and try to find ways to share that. Definitely don't want to go all out as unidirectional giving. Also want to shout out the healers, activists, artists, and weirdos of the world, and music festivals. I have been part of a lot of different music festivals that really work to figure out how to create space for everybody to feel free enough to be themselves and think about how to create alternative good in the world. I've got a few minutes left. I would love if any of you are involved in projects that you would like to give a shout out to. I would love to pass and share this mic. Does anybody want to share anything? Anybody have a project that someone else here might be able to join? Yeah. It's not like a project. That's okay. Would you be willing to go on the mic? Oh, okay. And what's your name?
My name's Priya.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to plug that I work for Libro FM Audiobooks, and we support local bookstores and are trying to put the money back into our communities. And so we're just an alternative to Audible. And if you're looking for a way to support your local bookstore, this is a way you can do that. So yeah, you can feel free to talk to me about it too.
Love it. We've got a couple more minutes. Anybody else? Please, please. Yes, sorry.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I haven't worked with them for about a year because things got busy, but I know Hack for LA. I did a project with them a while ago, but they have like basically a whole site full of like open source projects that you can help contribute to. And then I think the time commitment is about 1 to 3 hours a week, so it's not too bad. And you have a team and you basically work together to get a project across the line. anything that you're really passionate about, like food insecurity or homelessness or like record expungement, you'll find a project probably that would fit it. I don't think you have to be LA based, because when I was working on it, it was remote, so we had some people in New York and stuff too, so that's a really cool project.
Love it. We got time for at least one more. Yay.
Similar to Hack for LA, if you want to get involved in your local community, there are Code for America brigades in lots of different cities throughout the US. I've done some work with the DC one. You can look up your local one, and they will often already be plugged in with some local nonprofits and have open source projects that you can contribute to.
Okay, my 30 minutes are up, and now I can be back on the horn here with, I do have an employer, it's Scrapbook. We are hiring. They're pretty awesome. What actually sold me on it was an interest in running the company transparently and honorably, equitably. And they are doing that. And that's why I signed up. Certainly also to support the project economy. That does seem to be a bit of our collective future. There was a talk at a prior conference that the VP of Engineering and one of the engineers did, talking about having had the company, all of the recruitment funding, like all of the time the recruiters and talent sourcers were spending was on finding women and non-binary candidates. And they took in 1 year the number of engineers, or the percent from 11 to 35. Definitely recommend that talk and or that approach. If that's something you'd like to talk about, I'm definitely down with also organizational engagement, specifically of our companies in our industry. I think that's it. Thanks, everybody.